Today is not record store day and it's raining in New York. So hopefully we have some folks out there. Who's out there? Come on in. I am very excited about week 17 of What Did Prince Do This Week in 1983. Good morning, Nick Felden, the first in the chat. I appreciate you so much for being here every week. And we have to do our housekeeping. Happy Saturday, Man Ray 10. So, the estate of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week Book Club series. Hey there, Nikki. And yes, Zach Hoskins is with us today. I'm super excited.
Thank you.
Good morning, Christina. Good afternoon, Clarissa. Good morning, Lawrence. Good afternoon, Denise N. Hey, Kim. It's always a pleasure to have you here. It's not the same when you're not here, but so I appreciate you. So Lawrence wants us to touch on celebration. Tell me a little bit more about what you want to talk about. Because I've already talked about celebration maybe a couple of weeks ago. But we can talk about it some more. Happy Saturday, Web Diva 3000. Good morning, Mila. Thank you so much for your Twitter post for the book. Again, this is the book that we are reading. Good day, Tanja.
Your copy looks so nice, D'Angela. My copy is beat. I don't know if this really comes across, but my copy is not.
Hold it back up. Let's see it.
It's like, it's especially when you're looking like in here. I had to tape it. Yeah, it's the back cover's coming off. This is also me not knowing how to use a camera, so
it's okay.
Editing content.
Oh no, I also don't know how to use a camera. It happens to me all the time. Happy Saturday, Drea Dances. Good afternoon, TP. Good morning, Brandy T. Good morning, Queen and King. Thank you for that, Theo. That's very kind. Oh, we want to talk about the lineup that was released. Okay. And good evening from everyone. Annie Ward.
Hey, Annie.
All right. So Brandy's excited about the lineup. It's well loved as it should be, Zach, meaning your book.
Yes.
And Vanessa, my copy is all greasy and sticky. Pages folded.
Yeah, Theo noticed my shower. I put this is not a permanent fixture. This is my shared office with my wife. And if you know from the 1+1+1=3 conference, it's a very contentious piece of art in my household. But I did bring it just for this, just to give a little bit of Prince.
We appreciate
a lot of Prince, actually. It's actually a lot of Prince. That's why it's contentious. It's too much Prince.
We'll take a lot of Prince. Happy Saturday, Stephanie. Hold on, I have to hit this little part here. It's so simple. All right, in the background, we are playing Eric Leeds, Times Squared. Let me pull it out for you. This is one of the best albums ever recorded on Paisley Park Records. On vinyl, yes. Times Squared, Eric Leeds, 1991, Paisley Park Records. When I did the one, speaking of the 1+1+1=3 symposium, when I did it, my friend Ricky Wyatt, who is a huge Eric Leeds Madhouse fan, as am I, was like, "What's up? We're not talking about Times Square." But we were already talking about controversy. We were already talking about diamonds and pearls. We were already talking about the Rainbow Children. And I was like, I just can't do 4. But if I could have done 4, I would have done it for Times Square. And let's see. So we got Zach, the cover's coming. My hardback copy too. Awesome. And let's see. Hi, Prince in the shower in the background from Theo. And Tanja, I love the discussion going on Twitter about the younger Prince fans that feel separated from the old folks. We will talk a little bit about that. Thank you so much, Kim, for noticing our good t-shirts today for D'Angela and Zach. Love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mine is not really Prince themed, but
it's
Prince
purple.
did.
But it's purple.
Yeah. And he did support Black Lives Matter, so.
Yes. And let's see, Lee Christian. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Hope you're all having a lovely weekend. Yes, Baron. How y'all still recovering from last weekend mini? That's so awesome, Baron, that you went out there for the April 21st observances. Unfortunately, I was exhausted, but also my money can't go so far since I'm going to go for celebration. Brandy Lovett, my Under the Cherry Moon poster still need to be hung. Finally got them framed. This is so exciting. I love Under the Cherry Moon posters. Brandy, you have to tell me which one you're hanging. Is it the movie poster? But there's several movie posters. There's the silver foiled one, and then there's one that has all the like albums and everything stacked in like this vignette. So please let me. Oh, yes, Nikki. And Princess Vulgar Stream of Water, which was one of the hashtags from the 1+1 is 3 symposium. And hello, Stone Freak. It's always a pleasure to have you here. What do you need on vinyl? Are we talking about the Eric Leeds Times Squared? And we have Good Morning, All the Dopamine Rush and Little Rock are my favorites from Times Square. Little Rock is one of my favorite. Actually, all of them. What am I talking about? All of them are my favorites on Times Square, but those two are quite special. I particularly love Little Rock. I gave a presentation at the Prince from Minneapolis Symposium in Minneapolis several years back, and my presentation was about Eric Leeds and Claire Fisher, and Little Rock was one of the tunes that I had to play during that presentation. So I so appreciate that. And yeah, and then let's see, we got Christina saw Eric Leeds at the Dakota Lab. What? I am so jealous, Christina. Saw Eric Leeds last night at the Dakota with St. Paul, Jelly Bean, Dr. Fink, and Kirk Johnson. Incredible. I bet that was incredible. Whenever Eric Leeds and St. Paul get together, it's just super magical. But to also have, Dr. Fink there and Jelly Bean is like really, really incredible. And Kim says that Black Sabbath BLM shirt is great. She has it too. Let's see. And Theo, it was great starting conversation in the Twitter space. And then let's see, I have Times Squared on CD from Lee Christian. Didn't some of the Madhouse stuff end up there? The suite, yes, that is correct. The Dopamine Rush was a part of one of the lineups for the Madhouse 24. So for those of you who have been with us, I've been playing Madhouse because they're numbered to represent the numbers. And last week was week 16, and I didn't want to play any unreleased music. So I was like, what can I follow up that's not Prince proper in terms of copyright? And I was like, to be honest, this is my Madhouse 24. Times Squared has always been my Madhouse 24. So I was like, I'm just going to play my Madhouse 24. So fantastic, Brandy. I love the silver foil movie poster. I need to get my own frame, but it's in the ATL at my mama's house. And it has never been rolled, but in order to get it up here, we're gonna have to roll it. But it is definitely probably the next poster that I will get framed as well. So we got April Watson from Tampa. We got Heavenly Gaines. I love your name, Heavenly. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Happy Saturday, everybody. Lisa's here. Thank you for the birthday love. Of course, of course, of course. And then let's see. Also scored under Cherry Moon concert announcement banner from France. Wow, love that. I would love to see that. Do you mind sending me a picture of that, like on Twitter or something? I would really, really appreciate it. Yes, that was definitely a lineup at the Dakota last night. Good afternoon, Tracy. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Celie is dragging in late. We had grandparents' duty last night with our 18-month-old granddaughter, and I'm still tired. So I need this funk to wake me. And yes, definitely hashtag Tracy Humphrey. Hi, Cassandra. All right, Mignon is here. All right. Yes, you have to check out. I'm going to put this up one more time because, like I said, this is one of the best albums ever recorded on Paisley Park Records, and that is Time. Let me move my hand from the name. Eric Leeds, Time Squared, 1991. All right. Oh, and Ocean is in the house. Thank you so much. All right. So let me get through this housekeeping with the quickness. We have a lot to talk about today, and we've just foregone our hour limit because it just doesn't seem to work out on a weekly basis. But we're gonna try to keep it at 2 though, for sure. So for those of you who don't know, what did Prince do this week? We're going week to week, not day to day. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, that's okay. And you can follow our schedule. We have a schedule for reading in our book, and this is our book, the expanded edition of Prince and the Purple Rain Era Studio Sessions 1983 and 1984. And you can either go to this bit.ly link, or you can go to bookclub.polysolid.com. So we always have to do this when Love Sexy 71 is in the house. Love Sexy! You know, I honestly don't remember where I got this. I think my husband got it for me. I don't think I got it myself, so I have to find out from my husband. So let's see. But thank you so much, Love Sexy 71. And again, we're reading the expanded edition. That's what the schedule is based on. All of these are archived on the YouTube channel, Polished Solid. Please subscribe, like, and help spread the word. Again, not for me, but for the Prince knowledge. We do, someone said on Twitter, I do forensic dives. I appreciate that. So actually, I got it from eBay. That's where this shirt came from, eBay. And then our hashtag is WDPDTW for what did Prince do this week. And then I also just set up an email if you want to send me anything related to the upcoming week so I can include it in slideshow. Yes, Mila, I also was impressed with myself that we did keep this at an hour in the beginning. But I knew it was going to be a heavy lift, and I am going to keep it at 2 hours though. All right, so we already talked about what we were playing today at the beginning of What Did Prince Do This Week, week 17, and it was the song Lines, which is one of my favorite songs off of the Eric Leeds Time Squared album, but every single week you're going to hear me say, this is my favorite song. But truly, Lines is one of my favorite album openings of any album, because I'm going to play the opening and then I am not going to allow it to continue to play. And if you have your headphones on loud, it's going to shock your system. So this is for you, Celie, if you need a shock. That's not going to do you shock. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. All right, so one of the questions I want to ask Eric Leeds is because most of the other tracks on Times Square has Prince involvement, but this is the only song that says that Prince is not involved. And the song on the album is credited to Eric Leeds and Matt Bliston. But this sounds like Sheila in terms of the percussion. And I also want to know who's playing the keyboard. So based on the album credits, it says that Eric Leeds did the drum programming alongside somebody else whose name I can't remember because I haven't seen their name before. It is Drum Samples by H.B. Bennett. So if anybody knows, I need to do some research on H.B. Bennett. Yes, Celie, yes, exactly. That's how you start an album. I mean, I think it is one of the best album openers ever. So love, 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 love. Okay. I could go on and on about Times Square, but this is what did Prince do this week, but Prince helped with this. Another thing I want to talk about is I can't say enough about the brand new documentary, and there's actually 2 Little Richard documentaries out right now, but the one that I'm talking about is Little Richard, I Am Everything. Hop, skip, jump, teleport to any place you can to see this documentary. It is a really good documentary, and it will bring you a deeper insight into who Little Richard was, how important he was, to Prince, just in terms of Prince carrying on Little Richard's legacy. And also, I have to show this, like every time I see this photo, I think of basically Love Sexy Prince. So Little Richard, even the hair, I mean, and it's just so many ties that you can see between Little Richard and Prince. And I have to give like just girl power love to Lisa Cortez, who is the director and producer of the I Am Everything Little Richard doc. I was just so, I mean, one of the best documentaries ever. And one of the reasons why it's one of the best documentaries ever is that she features Corey Henry in this documentary. And because they have 3 musicians who play like tunes integrated within the documentary. And he plays one of Little Richard's songs, which is incredible. But for those of you who are into music, meaning like you love music, you'll know also about Valerie June. And Valerie June plays like a Sister Rosetta Thorpe song. And it's just like seamlessly integrated into the documentary. And like most documentaries are often just talking heads. And this documentary is more than just a talking head. I can't stress how incredible this documentary is. So I just really hope that some of you who are into your music will support that documentary. So it's actually both. So you can see it in the theaters and it's also streaming. You have to pay for it, but for me, it's worth paying for. I rented it. It was like $7 because that's cheaper than going to the theater. And I want to support this documentary. So hopefully this documentarian will continue to make at least music docs. Yes, so Celie has a great favorite Little Richard quote: Prince is me, and I am the genie up out the bottle, and I ain't going back in. Yes, thank you so much for that.
If you haven't watched the footage of Little Richard presenting the Grammy's Best New Artist with Buster Poindexter, it was sometime in the 80s, sometime when Buster Poindexter would be presenting an award. Look it up because I watch it at least every 6 months, and it gives me an equal amount of joy every time I watch it. It's one of my favorite things in history.
And Mila is talking about a film that a lot of people are talking about. Cheval. I can't say it. Can you say it, Zach? I can't pronounce. I don't want to bastardize the name. I'm really bad with that.
Is it Chevalier? I'm not sure though. I haven't seen it.
Chevalier. That's probably right. Chevalier. I will take that. I know Celie has seen it, and in Celie's weekly newsletter, Celie just wrote up a really awesome overview of the film. I won't spoil it, and I won't spoil Celie's comments. So sign up for the newsletter. I don't know, Celie, if you want to put, I don't know. I won't say that. So just get a hold of me and I'll put you in touch with Seeley so you can subscribe to Seeley's newsletter. But yes, thank you. That's the right pronunciation. Good. And then Zakia said she saw those comparisons. The actor said on TV show he used Prince mannerisms since no footage of him exists. Yes. Thank you, Lee Christian. I love the Eddie Murphy interview at the Purple Rain premiere where he says what Little Richard said. It is very hilarious. And Tanja is correct. If you haven't subscribed to Seeley's newsletter, it's the weekly newsletter. It's really important to do so, in my personal opinion. I learn a lot. And yes, I definitely do plan on seeing that film. All right, so I wanted to talk really quickly about some things. One, Scott Woods is one of my favorite thinkers on the planet. And he posted this. I'm not on TikTok, so I didn't see this on TikTok, but he posted this on Twitter. And what I really loved about this is he was talking about basically there's no old Prince versus new Prince. And he's talking about the music. Like he was saying that all of Prince's discography is Prince discography, meaning like all of it is good. And the reason why I'm really pointing this out is the one thing that really resonated with me was towards the end of this when he started talking about even if there's a song that you don't necessarily like, that you know that it's a Prince song because Prince made Prince decisions. Meaning like it really goes back to this concept that Prince is his own genre. And, you know, with certain songs, they can be very Princey or Prince-centric. It's almost recursive. It's really hard to explain, but only a Prince fan will understand basically what Scott is saying about Prince. But I just loved when he said Prince decisions. Yeah, so I just loved that. Yes, Zach Hoskins is in the house, and welcome, Dr. Claw. It's always great to have you here.
I'm doing my best Michael Dean today.
Well, I'm glad that you're bringing this up because I saw this on your post on Twitter, and I was going to say something, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait and say it personally. First of all, you're not a stand-in for Michael Dean.
I'm playing the role of Michael Dean.
No, you're not. You are Zach Hoskins. You are Zach because you are incredible. And also no one is Michael Dean. Michael Dean is
right. Zach Hoskins. The one thing I will say though is that, you know, the like nerdy white guy voice that Michael does, that's my voice. So I've been ready to do this my whole life.
Yes. Scott is so smart. And Scott says things like, also, I mean, going back to the Scott video, it really resonated to me because that's how I feel. And Scott just has a way with words that I don't have. And he just says things that I wish that I could say. So he often speaks for me and he doesn't even know he's speaking for me. But if you were to watch that video, just know that I am with Scott 100% with that particular clip that he wrote. So let's see.
I don't know, Scott. I don't know how Scott does it. He's just like constantly saying and thinking brilliant things. And I'm just like, can't you take a day off or something like that?
Yes. And the thing
it just comes out of him.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's so effortless. I mean, it's just like who he is. And like, yeah. I would have to like write it down and iterate it, and it just flows out of him
right.
like, immaculately.
I'm sitting here working on the same post for 3 months, and Scott just like came out with 3 books and is also, you know, giving talks, and it's unbelievable.
Yes. So, you know, I'm sure he has a YouTube channel, but I always connect to Scott, and I hope that I hope I have his Twitter handle correct. Let me just check real quick because sometimes I get it wrong and I might have it wrong on that. So let's see. Scott Wood. I think I do. See, I already messed up. Yes, I knew I messed it up. So this is Scott's Twitter handle, and it's 2 S's. I don't have the 2 S's on my, let me stop sharing real quick. See if I can, I'll fix it later. We don't have time for me to fix something on spot. So let me reshare my screen. Yep, and yeah, it is, yep, at Scottwood says with 2 S's, because I have it wrong. So I'm gonna go back and I'm going to actually change that. So one of the things about the, hold on one second, about the slideshow is that if you go to the bottom of the website for the book club, you can actually access the slideshow, and anything that I have in the slideshow is always linked. So if you go to the slideshow, you can actually see a link to and go directly to this particular post and actually hear what he's saying. So, all right, so we actually have India here, and we have others here. Let me hide the current comment. So last night there was a Purple Town Hall, the same thing with this. If you go to the bookclub.polysolid.com at the bottom, hit the slideshow. If you click on this, it will go directly to Twitter, to India's Twitter post, and you can actually listen to the Purple Town Hall that happened last night. So I wanted to give thanks to India and Randy and Christopher Tracy and Glitter Corvette for creating this purple space for others. And I wanted to really thank all of you for creating that space, because I really do think that it's going to take a village to keep Prince's names on what I call the lips of the children. And it's really about all of us creating our own spaces, our own events. We're all in this together. And so I just wanted to just really thank you for doing that very much. All right, and then let's see. Speaking of all of us doing our own things, so I don't know if you guys know about the Purple Paisley Brunch, which is Tanya Giddings and Jill Monroe. They're doing I have to get rid of that. I did this really quickly this morning. I have to remove that anim ant part. But they're putting on an event in New York City on Thursday, May 18th at the Cutting Room with Jelly Bean Johnson and Eddie M. And everyone should know who Jelly Bean Johnson is, the drummer of The Time. And Eddie M was and still is at times Sheila E.'s saxophonist, and also performed with Prince and recorded with Prince on some stuff. So that's happening on May 18th, Thursday. Doors open at 7 p.m. Show starts at 8. And again, this is by the Purple Paisley Brunch. And I support them whenever I can, because I know how hard it is to put on events like this. So I hope that you will support the Purple Paisley Brunch. Yes, of course, India. We appreciate all that you do. And let's see. All right, so the reason why Adam Ant was on this previous one is because I actually want to talk a little bit about Adam Ant. Probably maybe too much for most of you. But
It's my hometown, Lansing State Journal.
Is it really?
Yeah, well, I mean, sort of. I'm from a little town just outside of Lansing, so that was my newspaper growing up.
Oh,
Weird to see it in
wow.
this context.
So see, I did it for you, Zach.
Yeah.
Even though I do think that the universe has a strange way of making things happen and line up. I do believe in that. So I think the universe is lining up for you, Zach. So that means that you're supposed to be here. How about that? You're supposed to be here. So Zach, you may not have seen last week's What Did Prince Do This Week? We basically talked about this particular article, and it basically just was a context of MTV. And we also read some reviews from 13-year-old or 12-year-old Scott Hughes, who I think is the brother of Mike Hughes, which is like the staff writer on this article. And
yeah, I think he still was when I was growing up. So he was there forever. Yeah.
yeah. And I really love that, 12-year-old Scott, really understood Prince as a 12-year-old at 1999. I mean, before the 1999 video, he basically says that, I'm going to pull it up so I can read it, that it is undoubtedly the best performance video on MTV. And this was from a 13-year-old back in 1983. Yeah, I thought it was really awesome. And he rated it number 3 after Billy Joel's Pressure and Fleetwood Mac's Gypsy. But then the main article by Mike really talks about, the influence of Adam Ant, and even like the headline, you see Adam Ant leads video rock era. And I think that Adam Ant doesn't get talked about enough. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about Adam Ant today, but also with all these things, it always connects back to Prince. And we already talked about last week where Andre Simone actually produced Andre produced Adam Ant. I don't know why I can't talk today. So, Mignon, I'm glad that you say I need to hear this connection. You're going to be shocked if you don't know what I'm about to say, because, yeah. All right, so hi, Robin. Let's see what Robin is saying. I hope you're well. Thank you so much for joining in. Oh, Jill told me that Adam had an influence on Vanity, and she was actually wearing the ruffled shirts first, and Prince got that from her. She, of course, got that from Adam. I did not know that, but it makes a lot of sense, Robin, based on what I'm about to say. All right, so this is the reason why we're doing this book club, because it's not about me, it's not about Zach, it's not about Michael Dean, it's about all of us. I can't stress that enough. And that's another reason why I created the email. So if there's anything you want to contribute for the upcoming week, based on our reading schedule, please do so, because again, it's about all of us. All right, Vanity and Adam Ant. So I was able to find this picture on PsychoJello. Love that. PsychoJello.tumblr.com. And if you don't know what you're looking at, it is a photo of Vanity and Adam Ant. Hi, Zuzu's Petals. Thank you for being here. You finally made it. Oh, yes. So, Zach, just for some context, last week we talked, actually, Scott Hughes talked about Tony Basil and how they didn't like they didn't like that song, which I thought was so I wish I could find it really quickly. Let me see if I can. I might not be able to find it really quick, but it was really insightful. You have to go back and watch the last episode for all. So, yes. So Robin sends V and Adam dated before and after Prince. And hi, I finally made it too. Thank you, Robin, for being here. So yes, Vanity and Adam Ant, as Robin just shared, dated before and after Prince. But that's not all. So in addition to that, on Adam Ant's album, 1983 Strip, there is a song called Vanity. You see number 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is Vanity. And what is that? And who is that song about? Vanity. That's who that song is about. And I just loved, I'm just going crazy. I'm just showing you guys all the stuff going so fast here. So this is a CBS vinyl. What do you call that? The circle in the middle of the vinyl. This is the normal CBS plate that you see in a lot of CBS records. I think this was like a special edition of Strip, which I loved because of the illustration of the woman. And also you can see Adam had the D reversed or flipped or whatever you want to call it. I love that level of detail, but I really love this illustration. And Zach, just jump in. You can talk over me. I do want you to contribute, so don't feel like you have to be quiet. So
I was just going to say, there's an interesting looking at this. I haven't really thought too much about the connections between Prince and Adam Ant and who, I would have to know more about Adam Ant's career, but this is an extremely Prince image. And I think it's interesting that they were both kind of in that space of like men cultivating themselves as pinups, you know? And I wonder I wonder what kind of cross pollination there was. Because they were really working, you know, in parallel. You can't say that, oh, Adam Ant, you know, was copying Prince or Prince was copying Adam Ant. They were really doing it at the same time. But I have to imagine they were aware of each other, especially now that I know they were dating the same woman at varying times.
Oh, so thank you so much, Deja, for this tidbit. I love this. Thank you. Again, this is about all of us. So I love that everybody's bringing in some information here. That's what a book club is all about. So thank you, Deja. So Adam Ant said in his book, he visited Vanity during the 1999 tour. This fits in so lovely with our theme this year so far, the 1999 tour we've been talking about. Prince saw them in the hotel lobby and got pissed off and got into a shouting match with her. Interesting. So thank you for that. So did Denise talk about Adam Ant and her? But that's a good point. I have to go back. I read it so long ago. I don't remember, but that's something I need to do. So one of the reasons why I wanted to show, this is the inner sleeve of strip that we're going to look at the Rolling Stone cover that Prince did with Vanity, Prince's first Rolling Stone cover, and Prince's first Rolling Stone cover was with Vanity. And just look at this pose. And I love, Zach, that you said there was cross-pollination because they were working in parallel. And so I think they were influencing each other.
Yeah.
In more ways than more ways than one. And I'm sure that might be a little bit of one-upmanship.
Trying to turn Vanity's head back and
Yeah,
forth.
yeah. So this is really interesting. So thank you all for all that you're sharing in the chat. This is one of the reasons why. So there are lyrics in the inner sleeve of this strip. And I want you to, first of all, you got to listen to the song. If you listen to the song, you have to listen to the entire thing. The reason why you have to listen to the entire thing is towards the end, he really makes fun of Prince because he starts making Prince sounds that we identify with Prince, but Adam Ant is trying to do them. And I like just died laughing when I listened to the song because I was like, no, he didn't, but he does. So if you want to get like a chuckle, this is kind of almost like a diss track.
I'm mad at myself because I think I inherited this album from my mom. I think my mom had this record when I was born. I was born in 84. And I think, you know, my parents gave me all of their albums, but I think I gave them away because I was like too much of a macho teenager. I was like, what is this Adam Ant shit? You know, but like now I would probably love it. And I mean, I'm sure I can find it.
Yes.
Like I'm sure it's not, you know, I'll find it somewhere, but yeah, I swear to God, I had this album.
Yes. Well, you can definitely go on your, do your Googles, as Michael Dean would say. And if you go on YouTube, you can listen to Vanity, the track by Adam Ant. And again, you gotta listen to it to the very end because you'll understand. You'll know immediately what I'm talking about once you listen to it. Let's see what Deja also has to say. Vanity got with Adam. She was tired of Prince and his infidelity. She said, I can play that. I said, two can play at that game. Go Vanity. Yes. Vanity, we won't go into, I can talk all day about Vanity. We won't go into it, but I did give a presentation about Vanity at one of the Black Portraitures conferences, and that's a non-Prince conference. And I always like to talk about Prince and Prince-related artists at non-Prince conferences. I've spoken about Jill Jones at one of the Black Portraitures, and I also talked about Vanity. And what I really tried to talk about in the Vanity presentation was Vanity's agency. Like Vanity was very much in control of her own career. She had a career before Prince. She had a career after Prince. And in terms of the proteges, and I hate using that term protege, she did very well for herself. I mean, you got, The Last Dragon, you have Action Jackson, you have, again, I think that Vanity's best recordings were the ones that she did with Jesse Johnson for the Action Jackson soundtrack, Undress If you've never heard Undressed by Vanity, produced by Jesse Johnson, you haven't lived yet. I mean, it is actually an incredible track. So that's one of the things that I loved about Vanity, is that I do think that she loved Prince very much, but she loved herself more. And so, especially back then when, there were certain roles for, female identifying people versus male identifying people, that she really stood up for herself and wanted to take control of herself. I mean, she left Purple Rain. She could have been in Purple Rain, but she was like, nope. I'm tired of this. Like, I'm out of here. So I have so much respect for Vanity. Yes, agency is the right word. And Tanja's saying nothing is wrong with that. Yes, Zuzu's Vanity was her own woman. Very, very much. Yes, she does say this, Zakia. She actually says this in her book. So Blame It on Vanity, highly recommend it if you haven't read it. Vanity Power, and obviously I need to reread it again because I don't know if she talks about Adam Ant in that book. So that means I need to read it again. Yes, Vanessa, I bought the Action Jackson soundtrack just for Undress. It was an incredible track. Yes, Ocean, Jesse Johnson is a critical figure for many acts. Jesse did so much and continues to do. All right, so let's go back to these lyrics, because every time I listen to this song, it cracks me up. So the lyrics that crack me up, in addition to the Princeisms, are she says she likes the accent, because Adam Ant is from England, in case you don't know that. She thinks it's so polite. I think she's going to like it more when we're alone tonight. I just crack up every time. And that's pretty much the chorus. So it's really repeated over in the song. So highly recommend that you listen to Vanity by Adam Ant. And again, that is a Prince connection, the whatever, 5 degrees from Prince versus Kevin Bacon. Yes, Stone Free. I mean, Prince was dating several women, so Vanity had the right to cut up. Indeed. And yes, Jesse Johnson was critical for many, many acts. We are heavy Jesse Johnson lovers here. So this article was in, now, first of all, this is not the, oh no, yes it is. This is the cover that this article is in. Cream, which was one of my favorite magazines as a little girl. They often, there's actually one I remember in particular because it had like Vanity in it. They actually feature Vanity in it a couple of times, in Cream, which I thought was really awesome.
I love the spread with the Boy Howdy, where they have the Boy Howdy cans. That's one of my favorite Vanity 6.
Yes, it is. And then so this article in here is called Adam Ant, Sex Person Without a Cause. And for those person. Yes, sex person without a cause. And for those of you who don't know what that reference is, it's like the film Rebel Without a Cause. So yes. So didn't mean to do that. So actually, again, when you click on any of this stuff, it'll go, so it takes you to Cream's site if you wanted to have access to it. And I just wanted to read, not the entire article, but I wanted to read this part of this article. So it goes, my question about his self-exposure on strips, and this is, again, Adam Ant, Sex Person Without a Cause. It was written by John Mendelsohn, Cream magazine, May 1984. So my question about his self-exposure on strips inner sleeve, and we just saw that inner sleeve, had apparently hit a nerve. There's a fine line, but I never really cross it. I'm not mad. I don't say I want to flash my DICK at you and get my brains blown out by a local cop, but I think the lyrics are about the sensual much more than the sexual. You can interpret them that way if you're experienced that way. I can play ball or I cannot play ball. If someone don't like my record, they don't like my record. They probably ain't like any record I ever made. I am not going to put on a pair of denims and write an acoustic album and grow a beard for them. This is Adam Ant talking. Videos aren't promotional vehicles anymore. They're a serious art form, and I've made 12 in the past 3.5 years. I write them, script them, and direct them. I'm not the product of some production company who told me to stand over there and look this or that way, which is what 30% of music videos are. So I thought this would be a really good article to follow up with our discussion last week on that article that we read with Mike and Scott Hughes from Lansing, because we were talking about the videos and we went on like a tangent about videos. And Adam Ant saw how important the visual medium was during the era of MTV and made 12 videos in 3.5 years. But I didn't realize that he wrote them, he scripted them, he directed them. So, I mean, this is one thing that I love about this book club is that I'm learning a lot. Like I'm doing some deep dives and some tangents. And it was just great to see that Adam Ant also had a bit of Prince's work ethic in terms of doing for self and being a little bit more DIY. So
this quote is extremely Prince. It reminds me, the part about the denims and the acoustic album, it reminds me of that story. I think it was Alan Leeds telling Prince to, stop with all the showmanship. And he was like, what, you want me to put on a turtleneck? Like,
yeah.
it just, that whole interview, if you told me that was Prince talking, I would not, maybe not the part about getting his brains blown up by a cop, but I mean, everything else, I would believe that was Prince.
Yeah. So actually, let me list, there's several comments in here. Yeah, so SMS says, you said it best, Vanity loved Prince, but loved herself more. People forget Purple Rain was part of Vanity's story. Then Deja says, exactly, he thought Vanity was going to keep putting up with his mess. Nope, she started playing him at his own game. Respect. And JD Washington, welcome. Speaking of 5 degrees of separation, yes, Andre did produce Adam Ant. And Love Sexy 71 says, I thought the article was a dig at Billy Idol with the Rebel title. I don't think, no, Billy Idol's album was Rebel Yell, and this says specifically Sex Person Without a Cause. So that points back to the film Jimmy Dean. James Dean, the actor, was the main actor in Rebel Without a Cause. So I think it's really referring to the film. And let's see, they were definitely one and the same. Prince and Denise, she left Rick James too. Well, Conan floss on them haters, then Adam. Yes. Yes. I wonder what Andre could share about working with Adam. And let's see. Interesting, Robin. I wonder too. I wonder how Prince felt about Andre producing Adam. How did that conversation go? Especially in this context. I didn't even think about that, Robin. That is a really good question.
Yeah.
Yes. Mila, I would like to see music videos be emphasized again. They're pretty throwaway now, even when there's some effort put into it. Yes. All right. So going back to, we're still on Adam Ant, and you have to indulge me, but I just find this all fascinating. So unfortunately, I couldn't find the magazine cover from this excerpt I'm about to read. But again, I learned something new every week because this book club. I didn't even know that there was a magazine called The History of Rock. Zach, did you know that there is a magazine called The History of Rock?
No, I know Cream, but not History of Rock.
Yes, and so this is the only cover that I could find that was decent, and I love, Ronnie Spector. And so again, this is not the cover from the excerpt I'm about to read, but I just wanted to show you that there was a magazine called The History of Rock. Celie, did you know?
Australian?
I think it's
because I see down there the first currency is Austin, New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
So I wonder if that's where it's from.
Yeah, and South Africa too. I think SA.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm curious, Celie, have you heard of this magazine, The History of Rock? Because I had never. I was like, what? Because I was reading, I came across this article. I use Rock's Back Pages. We've talked about Rock's Back Pages a couple of times on What Did Prince Do This Week? And so whenever I find something, I always go to try to find the original. And at first, when I read The History of Rock, I thought it was a book, and I was like, but that doesn't make sense because Rock's back pages only publishes articles for magazines, not books. And then I did a little research, and sure enough, there was a magazine called The History of Rock. Okay, so in this magazine by Tom Hibbert, and he wrote a lot for The History of Rock, from what I can tell. This is what he has. This is in his article about Adam Ant, and the name of the article is Adam Ant from Punk Reject to Prince Charming. And again, Prince, even though this has nothing to do with Prince, but we connect everything to Prince because that's the world we live in. We live in a Prince world where we connect everything to Prince. Okay, but everybody should know that. All right, so by the end of 1992, the pop revival that Adam had instigated was in full swing. New teen idols, Duran Duran, The Human League, Haircut 100. I've never heard of Haircut 100. Have you, Zach?
No, that's a deep cut.
Yes.
I know the other ones.
Yes.
And I just want to say real quick, Kaja Gugu, they're kind of a punchline, but the other night, randomly just surfing YouTube, I saw a video about the bass line in Too Shy. If you ever just listen to the bass in Too Shy, it goes hard. It is like I couldn't believe that I had never, because now I can't hear anything else. But he's just like going crazy on the bass on Too Shy. It's way too much. But I don't know if he was like a frustrated funk bass player who just ended up in Kaja Gugu. But yeah, listen to the bass line of Too Shy and you'll never hear anything else in that song again.
Okay, here we go. All right, so we got folks in the chat who knows all about Haircut 100. So Vanessa does, their UK band. Kim's coming through. Haircut 100, Love Plus One was an MTV staple. So maybe I know the song because I watched a lot of MTV and I just didn't know the act. So after this, we're going to go and listen to Love Plus One to see if
it's a great name.
Yeah.
Great band name, especially for New Romantics. Like...
Yes, and then Vanessa saying Too Shy is a great track. The intro is awesome too. Mignon also knows all about Haircut 100 with Love Plus One. I don't know how I missed out on Haircut 100. Christina, I loved Haircut 100 as a kid. Mignon says also a fantastic day. All right. And then C. Lee is saying, like you, I discovered the history of rock through the Rock Pages archive when I was doing research for my book in the mid-90s. Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's read the rest of this. All right. So New Teen Idols, Culture Club, which I was huge, and still am a huge Boy George fan. I think he has one of the best voices ever recorded. And Kaja Gugu, which I never really listened to, and Wham, of course, I listened to Wham. George Michael, how can you not listen to George Michael? Again, another really lovely voice. And
mincing onto the scene. That's
yes, mincing onto the scene and exploiting the market Adam had prized open, and having temporarily turned his back on Britain to concentrate on winning foreign audiences, the singer seemed unlikely to regain his pop crown. But then, in the autumn of 1983, he came bouncing back with a new album, Strip, and single Puss in Boots. On Puss in Boots, the accent was firmly back on a dominant drum sound, courtesy of producer and Genesis drummer Phil Collins, Susu Studio, and joyous howling, while the album, which confirmed Adam's obsession with pure sex for ant people. I guess that was one of his phrases. Do we have any deep Adam ant people in the house? Do we have some deep basement Adam ant folks on the? I was assuming that was maybe one of his taglines or something. Pure sex for ant people. Sex is the last greatest adventure left to mankind, he had once remarked, was a vibrant collection of rhythmic intrigue and party tunes. The single climbed to number 4 in the UK, and the LP sold healthily. I've never heard that to describe album sales before, healthily, but yes. All right. And then The first time we did Top the Pops, we were a foretaste of things to come, Adam had said in 1981. We did it before Spandau Ballet or any of the look bands, look in quotes, that he had spearheaded a renaissance and colorful escapist pop music was testament to Adam's energy and unshakable self-belief. That he managed to survive in the face of all the pop opposition that followed, attested to his and Marco's, I don't know who Marco's is, pop sounds and images. Help me out, Kim. Who's Marco? There had been nothing particularly new about Adam and the Ants. The various styles and noises had all been used in pop before, but the inspired mixture of borrowed elements had arrived in the right place at the right time, enlivening a stagnating rock scene. Now, this is the whole reason why I read all this, just to read this paragraph for you, but to put it into context. And this is Adam Ant speaking. I don't have a single original thought in my head. This is Adam Ant. All my ideas are just rehashes. But what makes you a distinctive artist is your choice of media and how you present your interpretations. There's no problem about nicking or incorporating other styles into your style. I love the idea of throwing things together. Pirate, Red Indian, 1976, three-chord punk. People don't know what's coming next. I thought that was a really insightful article, and that paragraph in particular. So if those of you should know that I teach at NYU, and I teach in a program called Integrated Design and Media. It used to be called Integrated Digital Media. And I teach a course called Ideation and Prototyping. And in this course, we read various books and we watch various things. And one of the books that we read is this book called Still Like an Artist. And do you know that book, Zach?
I don't, but it rings true.
Yeah. So Still Like an Artist is a book by a guy named Austin Kleon, and he actually has he has a whole series of books that I highly recommend. But Still Like an Artist was his very first book, and it's a book that I often give my students when it comes to creativity. Another thing that we watch in this class is a documentary series called Everything is a Remix by this guy named Kirby Ferguson. And actually Kirby Ferguson, who has been doing a lot of different videos. He has one like about conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff. But my favorite is Everything is a Remix. He actually just did like a remix of the remix of that video. And he actually is totally leaving the video space because he just had a kid and that wasn't giving him the money that he wanted. But he spent like hours and hours crafting these videos. And the point of them is being that there's really, basically what Adam Ant said is that there's no original thought. Is really about how you put various elements together. And I stress that to my students all of the time. And you can say the same about Prince. I mean, in terms of going back to Little Richard that we talked about earlier, you know, if you go back to Little Richard, if you go back to James Brown, if you go back to, you know, Parliament Funkadelic, if you go back to Sly Stone, you can see threads of Prince, you know, in all of those bands that preceded him. And we're not even talking about his Minneapolis influences, which Andrea Swenson's book goes into wonderfully about all of the musicians that Prince was surrounded by. I mean, he lived with one. His own father, John L. Nelson, was, you know, a musician. He lived with Andre. Andre was a musician. So, you know, Prince just didn't fall out of the sky. And, you know, he was an amalgamation of all of these influences. And I just love that Adam Ant back in 1981 was just like forthright and was just like, look, I don't have a single original thought in my head, but it's just how I put it together. So I don't know. That one paragraph just really stood out to me. And that's when I was like, you know what? We need to do an Adam Ant dive. Like we need to do it. And I connected it to Prince through Vanity and all of that. And some of you have also even further connected it because I didn't realize like that Adam Ant, came to visit Vanity on the 1999 tour. That's news to me. So thank you for that, Deja. I really
Gotta
appreciate
read that book.
Yes, gotta read that book.
Sounds juicy.
But I think it's probably important because another reason why I wanted us to talk about Adam Ant, and it really does go back to, I think it was Deja or maybe Robin, actually. Robin said this about Vanity wearing the ruffled shirts, and Vanity was wearing the ruffled shirts because of Adam Ant, and the ruffled shirts would become really, really big for the Purple Rain era. And so, I mean, again, they're all very, very connected. I knew Kim was going to come through. So Marco Peroni was the guitarist, writer in Adam and the Ants. Thank you so much for that, Kim. I really do appreciate it. All right, so let's see. All right, so Lee Christian says Puss in Boots was recorded in Phil Collins' studio. Thank you for that. And let's see, let me go back to Celi's first comment. I'm going back to the comments I missed. So Prince Andre, I told you not to produce anyone else, so you're fired. Andre's response, Maine, I don't work for you no more. That's funny. And let's see, Ren, welcome. Boy George working with Teddy Riley was a combination that should have worked better than it did. And let's see. Love this, Celia. Yes, no one creates from nothing. True creativity is how we weave the past into an innovative present. You said that so well. Thank you for that, Celia. Let's see. Love Sexy 71. The only Adam Ant song or video that is etched in my memory bank as a kid was a song that said, "You don't drink, don't smoke." Yeah, goody goody two shoes. Yep, that's the one that sticks for me too. And then Celia says, for years, that's the way. I'm only trying to help you, which is the B-side to Carmen Chameleon was my favorite Culture Club song. So we got some listening to do. So we can listen to Vanity by Adam Ant. We can listen to this, That's the Way, I'm Only Trying to Help You, the B-side to Carmen Chameleon. We can listen to this Haircut 100. There's a couple songs that were recommended to us, Love Plus One and Fantastic Day. All right, so we are finally, why you guys are here. I know some of you guys like, when are we going to get here? We are here now. It worked out beautifully. We're at the top of the hour. Week 17 of What Did Prince Do This Week? So here we go in 1983. All right, so there is one studio event. Mignon,
That's a good idea.
You're trying to give me more work to do, but that is a great idea, Mignon. What Did Prince Do This Week? Playlists are needed. You are absolutely right. I might even have to start that. Okay, so this week there was one studio visit and 2 songs were tracked. And 2 songs were Sex Shooter, and Promise to Be True. Again, I don't know why I can't talk today. Let me drink a sip of water. Okay, so on April 30th, Sex Shooter, Promise to Be True. And obviously Apollonia 6 wasn't a thought, but it only got released, when it got released on the Apollonia 6's album. You can kind of see what Prince has been doing in the month of April. He just did a lot in April of 1983. Just look at all of these, like 1999 tour dates. He was on Solid Gold. He recorded Chlorine, Bacon Skin, My Summertime Thing, Chili Sauce, Velvet Kitty Cat, My Love Belongs to You, The Kid Can't Make You Come, Chocolata. I mean, just so much. And now Sex Shooter and Promise to Be True. I'm tired. Just for looking at this April month. What about you, Zach?
I'm relieved that he took the preceding week off. Seemingly, we don't know what he did, but it at least didn't result in any songs. Yeah, that's a full week. That's a full month. I mean,
yeah. I think he was tired, but I never. So one of my running, not jokes, but running thoughts since I've been doing this is I don't believe this week is without something happening.
Oh yeah.
I don't believe that.
It doesn't seem like he could sit still that long.
No. So something happened. So that's where, you have to have a deeper dive into the vault and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. Yes. Yes, of course. Vanity lead vocal on Sex Shooter was fire.
Yeah, we need that to be released. I know everybody can hear it. It's not, it's not hard to find, but I really I wish if there's a whole assembly of the second Vanity Six album, I it's one of my holy grails for sure.
It's one of my holy grails as well, Zach. And it's actually one of the reasons why you're here today, because of our love of the Sixes.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to come last week because I don't think Velvet Kitty Cat gets enough love.
Yeah.
But I mean, Vanity Six is that's probably my favorite side project in all of Prince's discography, and even Apollonia Six. I discovered, I thought for a long time I was like, oh, I'm a Vanity Six person, not an Apollonia Six person. But then when I was writing about Apollonia Six, it's great. Brenda Six, as D'Angelo calls
yes,
it.
Brenda Six, but that album, the Apollonia Six album, should not be slept on.
It's so good.
It is.
Yeah,
so
it's like
good.
the secret bridge between Purple Rain and Around the World in a Day. The same way that The Family is the secret bridge between Around the World in a Day and Parade. It's all like, it's crazy how important it is.
Yeah, it's really important. And that's the reason why I talk about the Sixes a lot. I mean, because they're not on streaming as far as I know. And like the Vanity Six album is really hard to find, even like in a physical form, unless you know on Discog. I mean, what I mean hard to find, meaning like in physical record stores, I'm still that person who goes to real record stores. Obviously, you can get things online, but it's still really hard to do. So, Vanessa, I am with you. I prefer Vanity's version over Apollonia's version by far. It's just because I always thought that Vanity was the stronger vocalist. And Vanity, again, going back, since we have this Vanity narrative today, is that one of the reasons why I love Undress is that her vocals got better and better, because she really worked at it. And like, if you have her second Motown record, Skin on Skin, the title track, Skin on Skin, is actually one of my favorite Vanity vocal performances. And it's like almost like a ballad, but she really holds her own. And like, she said it herself that she was not Whitney Houston. Like she knew that. But like, she was able to work with what she had. And I'm very appreciative of that. Let's see. All right, so let's see what Anna Barbara says. It appears he was revising some in the mid 83, in December 83, January 84. She was always in my hair as an outgrowth of an aborted effort to re-record Sex Shooter 17 Days and Possessed as well. Yes, and we'll talk about that in December. It's going to be, I would say, it's a long way to December, but in fact, it's not, because I can't believe we're pretty much at May already. So, and then let's see, my point of mentioning this is some of our most beloved tracks originate in spring, early summer 83. Very good point, Anna. Thank you.
On a hot streak for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
A hot streak within a hot streak.
Yeah, a hot streak within a hot streak. I love that. And let's not forget the song, Vanity Six song, Vibrator Pure Comedy.
Cannot wait to talk about Vibrator.
And yes, Heavenly Games. Who can be prolific for 30 days? Yes, Prince. Tanja, the Family album is perfect. Stays in rotation. Yes, the Family. I was thinking about this morning, Tanja. Don't hate me. Because, I really do think that there should be like a Paisley Park box set. Or I mean, if we don't want to do a box set, a re-release of definitely the Jill Jones album, which is my #1 Paisley Park records. And I love the Family, but I kid you not, the Eric Leeds Times Square is my #2. I play that album. I probably play it more than Jill Jones, to be honest, because I love instrumental music. And I often listen to instrumentals more so than vocals. So I have a real love for Times Square. No ifs, ands, buts about it. But the Family would come #3 because of Claire Fisher in particular.
I looked up Times Squared on Discogs when you were playing it, and I was like, whoops, I guess I'm waiting for a reissue on that. That's It's a little pricey, but
Oh, what is it going for on Discog?
it was like 200 right
Oh
now. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, there's also the CD, and you can get it on CD too. Oh, this is so cool, Theo. That's fantastic. Theo got a vinyl copy of Vanity 6 recently.
Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah,
I haven't found one with the poster yet. That's the one that I'm kind of like looking
it's
for,
really hard to
but yeah.
find. Yeah, it's really hard to find one with the poster. And I love, Mila, that you have the skin on skin. You have that vinyl on your wall. I have it next to me, but it's in a pack. I would love to pull it out because it's one of my favorite covers of all time. My wife said she went to see the Purple Rain film expecting to see Vanity. Oh no, how disappointed I would have been. And when she saw Apollonia, she blurted out in the movie theaters, "Who is this?" I'm glad I didn't know her then. I can't imagine going to the theater and thinking you're going to go see Vanity. I would have been so disappointed. Of course, Madhouse re-released too. And Love Sexy 71. I don't, again, I consider Madhouse Prince. So I never think of Madhouse in terms of when you're talking about quote unquote the proteges, because Madhouse is Prince as far as I'm concerned. Prince and, Eric Leeds, of course. But let's see. Mignon says, I love the Secret Bridge idea. I love that too, Zach. I can totally hear that with the family album. Robin totally love the Protege box set idea, but more specifically the Paisley Park box set. But I would, that's if we had to compromise. If we didn't have to compromise, this is what I really want. And I've said this a gazillion times, but I will say it one more time. I really want the Vanity 6 album re-released with all of Prince's vocals released with it, like the originals, which I do have out, because I can't put this up enough, because there is Prince's version of Sex Shooter on this version of originals. It's time that we get a volume 2 of originals. I would love to have Vanity's version, even though technically that's supposed to be Prince's originals. But we got to have Vanity's version of Sex Shooter in pristine quality.
It makes me so sad the way they're just leaving Vanity 6 out to, like, they do not care, especially when you think about how protective the Prince estate is of their IP. You can put as much Vanity 6 stuff on YouTube as you want, and they do not care. It makes me sad. When I was working on my presentation for Triple Threat, I was looking for just a high res image of the Vanity 6 album cover. It was shockingly difficult to find, because it's like the album just doesn't exist. It's, Nasty Girl is on title, and that's it. It's sad because I think the album deserves better.
Yeah. So Arthur, hi Arthur. It's always great to have you here. I miss you. We didn't spend enough time in New York when you were here. So anyway, okay. I really think the Protege albums are textbook record store day releases, especially since so many are out of print. Yes, I agree with that, Arthur. And going back to your point, Zach, the reason why I'm playing Madhouse on this is like the algorithms don't care about Madhouse, which is insane to me. Insane, because it's Prince. Like, don't they know Prince?
we have to say at the beginning of every episode that the estate doesn't, like, they're so protective of that, but it's like free for all.
Yeah, it's so weird. And then so the same thing with the Times Squared album. Prince is all over the Times Squared album, right? And so it's kind of crazy. Let's see what Man Ray says. The Vanity 6 album went gold, driven by their hit "Nasty Girl." It should be at least on, it should at least be on the streaming services. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I just can't, I put this up already, but I'm gonna put it up again because, again, I want an originals too. It's one of my favorite things that has been released post Prince. I hope that they continue it. But going back to my protege, so like, again, with the Time records, if, each Time record was packaged with Prince's originals of those Time songs, I think it would be like a no-brainer. It would be so amazing. And for
I'd
the
rather see that than originals too, to be honest. But I mean, I don't
yeah,
know which one has more mass appeal.
yeah, that's yeah, but I would love that. All right, let's see what else we got. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so let's talk about the cover of all covers. There can only be one. And this was yesterday, April 28th, 1983. Rolling Stone magazine, number 394. What a fantastic cover, even though we're going to look at some alternate shots, and I actually prefer the alternate shot, but I'll take this one. This, when I saw this cover, and again, let's see, I was 12 years old when I saw this cover. So even though there's hands down pants, I did not read this as sexual. I read this as Prince, Vanity. This is, that's kind of how I read this. And then also seeing Prince's purple metallic coat with, like the studs, that to me was very much still rude boy, just with the studs, because I was trying to hold on to Controversy because, Controversy was like my favorite Prince, and for me, he was punker. Everyone talks about Dirty Mind as the punk record, but for me, Controversy, Prince was like punked out in so many ways. So I just really love this cover and how I knew they were doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing. So again, it wasn't really about sex for me. It was more about going against the status quo. That's what really appealed to me about this. And then I also love that Vanity was on the cover because being, a little girl and just, seeing that she had, in my personal opinion at the time, she had equal status as Prince because she was on the cover of Rolling Stone with Prince, right? Obviously I don't know the nuances of her being behind Prince, but at that time, as a 12-year-old, I was just like, Vanity, Prince, kind of thing. And it was really, really exciting. Let's see. Yes, Tanja, 40th anniversary. Yes. And Zakia, yes. They look so perfect together. Yes, Drea dances, same D'Angelo. I was 12 too and love this cover. Zuzu's Petals. I was a little older than 12 years old when I saw this cover, but it was still something special. Let me put the cover back on so we can look at it. And artist said that's the whole point of artist. Yeah, Record Store Day. It's Discovery Day. See, Lee. Okay. And Tanja says she has her original copy. And then Dr. Claw, 25 or something. While in retrospect, today's 25 ain't the same. Yeah. So let's look at some more pictures. So this was an alternate shot. And I actually prefer this picture than the one that's on the cover. And we have to give a shout out to Richard Avedon. I forgot to put in I usually have a Richard Avedon slide that shows Richard Avedon's photos of Marilyn Monroe and Prince, because just to point out, Richard Avedon was one of the premier photographers of all time. Like Richard Avedon was not just a photographer, he was the photographer. So that Vanity, Brenda, and Susan, and Prince all got the Richard Avedon treatment. Just like tickles me to no end.
That's why he agreed to the cover, right? I mean, he said, "I'll do the cover if Richard Avedon will shoot it."
Yes,
so he knew.
He knew. Yes, Prince knew. How important. So yes,
didn't agree to an interview, but he'll do the cover.
Yes. So. So Kim, like you really kind of point out why I prefer this shot over the other shot. So this shot is, if you look, Vanity's hand down Prince's pants and Prince's hand down Prince's pants, which I always love that Prince would never do or ask a female to do something that he wouldn't do himself. So like thinking about that Vanity 6 poster, that, the spreading of the legs, like Prince did that for Dirty Mind. You know what I mean? Himself. Like,
right.
So I just love, that. And then this is pretty funny thighs.
I'm embarrassed. I didn't know. Like, I didn't even, that didn't even register until you pointed it out. And now I'm like, well, yes.
Yes. And, so like whenever I talk about the Vanity 6 poster, and also it goes back to the Hookers poster, because the Hookers poster was essentially the same as the Vanity 6 poster, except Vanity was in the middle and Susan was in the middle. But and then if you look at the Dirty Mind photography, then there's Prince with his legs in the exact same pose. And that's something that I loved about Prince. He wouldn't do something that he wouldn't ask someone to do something that he wasn't willing to do himself. And that's one of the things that I loved about him. So going back to this alternate shot, it's just, I know why they probably didn't put this one on it. It's just like, it's just a little extra because of where Prince's other hand is. And if you look at the actual one that they chose, you can see it's down by his side. But I love the shot. And it also might be because maybe his collar is in Vanity's face. And it's not as much. You can see her face better in this one. But I love this alternate shot. And I also like this one because Prince is looking more directly into the camera versus this one. He's like, his face is slightly tilted to the side. But in both cases, Vanity is looking directly into the camera, which I really, really love. And again, like Richard Avedon actually took my favorite photos of Prince, and we're going to get to the one that I love, my favorite photo of Prince ever. And I'm a huge Jeff Katz fan. But this is one picture of Prince. Is like, if I could only have one photo, this would be the photo that I have. But this is another alternate shot that's not in the magazine. And you can still see that they're like holding each other's hands. And Prince still has his hands down his pants. So I think this is an interesting shot. Vanity looks incredible in the shot. I mean, it seems like they probably have like a fan going with her hair and all that going.
That's just what always happened to Vanity, I think.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Just a natural aura.
Yes. So Celie brings up a really good point. He's more coy in the cover shot and more direct in the alternative shot. Yeah, definitely. But I prefer direct because I'm a direct kind of person, but that's a really good point. And Zuzu's pedal agrees. The photo of Prince's hand on Vanity's hip is so much better. I totally agree. And let's see. So I wanted to show this again, just, for context. This is, I think, from the cassette of Strip. And you can see the pink reminds me of Vanity 6, especially when they were on tour. Like, I don't know, like what your color ratio is on your respective screens, but like I have two screens because one, it looks a little pink on one, but it looks magenta on the other. And the magenta one really reminds me of the Vanity 6 show. But then I just wanted to show you like how provocative Adam Ant was being, and how in the 80s there was still, I guess a little porn chic. Is that correct, Zach? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
As the resident porn expert.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm asking you. That's what, because you're the one. I don't know, but I just found it fascinating because I just stumbled across this when I was doing research on Strip, and I just found it so fascinating that this is again in '83. I obviously need to figure out like what are the timelines in terms of when was Strip released in terms of the month. But this Rolling Stone cover came out in April. But again, they were in parallel circles, and I just thought it was really, really fascinating.
I was thinking about Prince. This is like another derail entirely, but I was thinking about Prince when there was this series about Chippendales recently. So there was Welcome to Chippendales, like the dramatization, And then before that, there was a documentary, which the documentary, that was the one that really, like, I could not watch that fast enough. We definitely binged that in a single night. And I was just thinking, like, because, you know, I, just like you were saying, D'Angela, I read everything in life comes to me through a Prince lens. So I was thinking about how, you know, it's like late 70s, early 80s, and it's this kind of novel thing of men, you know, making themselves objects for the female gaze. And you know, obviously I've made that connection to Prince, and then Adam Ant is very much in that space. And yeah, I kind of want to kind of go back and look and see where else was this coming through, because it's all kind of coming out at the same time. I think Chippendales started in 79 or 80 maybe in Los Angeles. Um and yeah, I see Lee's talking about Teen Idol. Yeah, I mean the queerness is a big piece too. That's one thing. Honestly, I think I said after I did Triple Threat that, like, I feel like I'm gonna take a left turn away. I'm not gonna do porn for another conference. But one area that I am interested in is like gay male visual culture, because I see a lot of that in Prince too. And I mean, you know, I'm no expert. I'm not an expert in straight porn either, but you know, like it's just kind of I need to do the research, you know, because yeah, like when I do see you know, your Playgirls or even your more explicitly magazines for gay men, I have to imagine that Prince was pulling from that. I mean, the mustaches alone and the bikinis. It's just like it's fascinating. So no, I haven't, but it's something that I definitely want to do more research into.
Yeah, definitely. So this is the article. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but there's a couple things you should know about this article. And again, I ran out of time, but I don't know if you guys remember, but we read an article in one of the Minneapolis newspapers about one of the after parties where Stevie Nicks was in Minneapolis for the Bloomington show. And that particular author said that Debbie Miller was going to write this in advance of this being released, because this was earlier this year in 1983. And they said that Debbie Miller actually is from Minneapolis and had written for Minneapolis newspaper. So it was really interesting to see this. He had his source correct, and Debbie Miller appears as the author of this article. Zach, I feel like you wanted to say something.
Oh, that's interesting, because I always kind of wondered, because, you know, you see certain names come up a lot around this time, and Debbie Miller was not a writer that I was super familiar with. I knew her from this article, and that's it. So that's interesting that she was Minneapolis based, and that's probably why they got her for this cover story.
Yes,
Instead of,
yes.
you know, like I'm running a blank now of who else was writing for Rolling Stone in '84, but yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I have to go back. Again, I ran out of time. I was going to pull that original article but it's, you know, it's in one of our previous episodes. I can't believe we're already up to 17. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, so I'm not going to read the entire article, but I do want to read a couple of things. Oh,
is that the photo? Is that your favorite?
That's my favorite photo.
That's
ever.
classic.
Yeah, it's one, it's because it's Richard Avedon. And to give you guys a little bit of context, my master's degree is in photography, so I love photography and I love photographers, and Richard Avedon is just one of my favorite photographers, but I just think this is an incredible photo of Prince. I think it just represents everything that he was about, like the purple trench coat, which harks back, you know, to Dirty Mind, you know, through Controversy 1999. And it's purple, which, you know, is his signature color. And then you have the spikes again, which is so rude boy. That's like he's holding on to his rude boy, even though he's into what I consider his glam era. But you can connect it also to the New Romantics, which you can connect to Adam Ant. You have the Lace, which is like more reminiscent for me of Purple Rain. So it also kind of shows, you know, him going into the future.
You got to highlight that comment, D'Angelo. The web.
Oh, which one?
Web Diva.
Oh, okay. That's my Uber profile picture. That's.
Did they pick you up faster or slower? That's what I want to know. Like, what does it help with your Uber service, level of service? Because I would be making a beeline if I was an Uber driver. Just on the off chance that it was 1983 Prince.
Yeah. So much texture in this photo. Yes. And then like his hair, it's like his classic, you know, Prince hair. And it's just the licking of the lips, the down face. It's a really iconic shot.
This is like Prince in 1983. This is the platonic ideal of Prince right before Purple Rain.
Yeah.
It's an amazing image.
It's an amazing image. So I went to Just Rules. My parents didn't allow me to buy Prince albums as a child. His album covers were too adultish. Finally began my personal collection of Prince albums at 22. I've said this before. I'm not going to go into a deep dive about this, but so my first concert was the 1999 tour, and that's the reason why 1983 is so important to me personally. And my mom did not know who Prince was, because she told me if she would have known who Prince was, I would have never gotten to that concert. So I was really happy that she didn't know who Prince was. But she did know who Prince was by Purple Rain, because she actually took me to the Purple Rain concert. I won't go into that right now. But my mom kind of gave in. She just knew that I was obsessed with this guy. And it wasn't really I was obsessed with Prince. I was actually obsessed with Prince's music. Because Prince's music really got me through a very tough time in my life as a little kid. Again, I won't go into my childhood, but it was not ideal. And yeah, so it's the reason why I'm here today, really, Prince's music. So it meant so much to me. So if, you know, I've heard stories where people in their teens would buy Prince music and their parents would destroy it. And then they start hiding their Prince stash, you know, so that was an actual thing where a lot of people had to do. But I was actually really lucky that my mom I don't think my mom actually listened to Prince, meaning like the Prince albums. She just heard what was on the radio. So I don't think she really knew what I was listening to. But to be honest, I didn't know what I was listening to because I was in my teens. I didn't know what he was talking about. I just, and again, if you've heard me talk, you know that I enter Prince through music first, and then eventually I get to the lyrics, if I ever get to the lyrics, because I'm usually so immersed in, you know, listen to the track. I first listen to the track, then I concentrate on certain instruments. So I do really close listenings of Prince's music. And I did that as a teenager. And I always listened to Prince on my headphones, never out loud, not because I didn't want to share him. It's because I love listening to all the details and intricacies of the music and the reverb and all that you just couldn't hear, in my personal opinion, because of the sound system that we had, which, you know, was an average sound system, nothing great, but you just couldn't hear everything when you just played it out loud. So I wasn't trying to hide anything. It's just that it sounded better for me on the headphones. And it was more of a personal, intimate experience listening. I think also I didn't want to share Prince. I mean, I don't think I knew that at the time. I don't think I could have articulated that as a teenager, but I think that is also what was going on. It was just like Prince was my safe space, and it was just for me. Zach, I feel like you want to say something.
I'm just agreeing with you. And I've also been thinking about thinking back on my own life. And also now I have a 10-year-old who is very much pre-sexual. He's very interested in Roblox right now exclusively. But just having a kid that's gonna go into puberty. And I mean, honestly, I think that Prince's lyrics are explicit, especially early on, but in terms of what they can kind of teach you about sex, they're actually very positive. I think I learned internalize more harmful ideas about sex and women from the Beatles than from Prince. You know, like none of my ideas, more harmful ideas about sex or women came from Prince, to be honest. Like I think his attitudes are extremely healthy. You know, explicit but healthy.
Yeah, he was very much sex positive, which I think is really important in the US in particular, because we live in such a puritanic society. And we could go on and on about how important Prince was in the 80s in terms of, you know, what was going on with Tipper Gore and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we don't want to, we can go on and on, but we want to try to stick to our 2:00. So I want to be mindful of time. And Just Rules is saying Prince's lyrics captured my attention. Prince's 1999 album and Jimi Hendrix If 6 Was 9 inspired me to explore my own mind. I love Jimmy's If 6 Was 9. That's such a great track. Another thing to add to the playlist that Mignon wants me to create, which I should. And then we got, let's see, especially because George Clinton's 80s stolen materials, all their underrated content. So speaking of the American Music Awards, I don't know if Arthur is still here, but I know that Purple Rain performance is Arthur's favorite TV performance of Prince ever. And I actually just watched it this week. I hadn't watched it in a really long time, and I understand why. It's not my favorite, but I can understand why. And it says, Theo says, if you're a lyrics person, I would highly recommend Jason Brennan.
Yeah.
Is it pronounce his last name? Is that?
I think it's Brenninger, I think.
Yeah. Press I can't talk. Press rewind. Prince lyrics podcast. Say press rewind like multiple times in a row. I can't even say it once. Press rewind. Prince lyrics podcast. Our very own Zachary Hoskins has made several appearances on the show.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So let's get back because we want to make sure we get through all of our slides today. So let me start reading what I want to read to you guys. And again, I'm not going to read the entire thing. So give me 1 second because I got to make it big for my little eyes. All right. Prince, just 22, is the father of it all. But just try checking out the lineage. There isn't just a private side to Prince. There's an almost mysterious aspect. While the art of self-promotion has never been alien to rock and roll, it seems only to frustrate Prince. He was fairly outspoken until last fall, when after his first interview to promote 1999, he walked out of the room and announced that he would never talk to the press again. He's afraid he might say something wrong or say too much, says a former aide de camp. And if I'm correct, he didn't really talk to anyone until MTV did that interview with him while he was filming Under the Cherry Moon and released the America video. When he did talk, he often contradicted himself. Rumors started to spread, and now his silence feeds them. Is Prince's real name? Is he black or white, straight or gay? Questions he himself raised on his 1981 hit Come Lord's Prayer recitation controversy. Is he the Jamie Starr who produced albums by the time in Vanity 6? Is he a shy little prince or a despotic king? Now, one thing that I actually regret about the Triple Threat Symposium, and I really cannot believe that not one person talked about Jamie Starr.
Yeah.
I was like, how can we have a Triple Threat Symposium and no one talked about Jamie Starr?
Prince called him out and everything.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So I just wanted to, you know, just say we should have talked about Jamie Starr, and it was my fault. I should have just forced someone to talk about. I never force people to talk about things, but I think in this particular case, I should have forced someone to just talk about Jamie Starr.
And they have to do it in the Jamie Starr voice.
Yes, that would be awesome.
But that just, it goes to show, like, you know, whenever I tell people, like normal people, that this is what I'm doing, that I'm going to New York for the weekend to present at a Prince symposium about like 3 albums, you know, I always get crazy looks. But I mean, look at this. We spent 3 jam-packed days and there's still stuff that was not dissected somehow. So I'm not crazy. Everyone else is crazy. That's my takeaway.
Yes, indeed. Like you said, 3 days was not enough. It's never enough. And this is one of the reasons why I decided to do What Did Prince Do This Week, is so that we can actually take deeper dives. One of my best Prince friends asked me, did I regret making this decision? Because it is a commitment, but I am committed to Prince, as you already should know. But one of the reasons why is that I do think that we need to do forensic dives, because you just make connections that you never. I'm learning something new every single week through the book club, and a lot of it is because of you in the chat. Those of you who actually tune in person, in real time, synchronously. I really appreciate all of you and all of your comments and all the information that you're giving us. So I think it's really important to do, this deep dive. All right, so we're going to continue with the Debbie Miller article, just a couple more paragraphs from this page, then we're going to move on to the other page. All right, and I'm going to show Vanity and Brenda. And again, just look at the shot of Brenda and Vanity. I love this Vanity shot because she has on, I call it her trench coat. It's not a trench coat, but it's like her coat that she wore during the concert. And if you have listened to any of her interviews around this time, she talks about how she just didn't want to show it all, at first. So she comes out in a cape, and then the cape becomes the coat, and then she eventually takes off the coat. So she was actually very mindful of that, which I really appreciate. Oh, thank you so much, Just Rules. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Yes, the Star Company and the Triple Threat Tour is absolutely synonymous. Okay, so this is a quote. It says, Prince controls the whole scene in Minneapolis, says a local musician who has worked with him. Others who've lived with him or worked alongside him say he loves to surround himself with an air of mystery, to create false identities, to tangle the clues that lead to him. Cutting off all but a few close friends, Prince tends to hole up at his huge home with its modern basement studio on a lake 20 miles west of Minneapolis. One member of his band says he's had just one personal conversation with Prince in all the years he's known him. And this is Morris Day speaking. He's a real to himself kind of person. And to himself is in quotes. Says Morris Day, the Times frontman and longtime friend. He doesn't like to talk, says Vanity, the awesomely beautiful leader of Vanity 6 who accompanied Prince to the Grammys in February. Sir Highness, says another friend, has a way of secluding himself. And again, another friend is not attributed in the article. So I'm going to go on to the next page, but I'm going to go back. Even though I'm reading from the next page, I'm going to keep it there so you guys can look at Vanity while I read instead of a wall of text. All right. It all seems a figment of Prince's imagination, a living fantasy. And this is Vanity. Prince and I happen to think alike. On their record, Vanity 6 is backed by The Time. On stage, they're followed by The Time, who in turn are followed by Prince. At one point in The Time set, frontman Morris Day, a terrific dancer, calls out his valet. And they don't name Jerome, but we all know who the valet is. It's Jerome Bitton, the valet, who often follows Morris's own dance steps like a shadow, brings out a table, sets it with a white cloth and a vase of flowers, and uncorks a bottle of champagne. Morris, meanwhile, in his trademark two-tone Stacey Adams shoes, waltzes with a girl chosen from the audience. This sort of classy deportment was a starting point for The Time as organized by Morris. The image was cool. That's the key word, he says. That's what we built The Time around. Cool is an attitude, a self-respect thing. And then it goes on into talking about Morris Day and all of that. So one of the reasons why I wanted to read just that little bit is that I love that they had this bit of detail that the Vanity Six was backed by the Time on stage, and then they were followed by the Time. So basically, we know this, but I just think it was lovely for them to spell it out in real time back in 1983 in Rolling Stone, just to show the magnitude of this specific lineup and tour. All right, so here we go. Let's see what we got next. All right, this is another photo that Richard Avedon. What's that?
I was just saying that's a good one too. I
Yeah.
love that suit, that like velvet suit.
Yeah, and also the buttons. And yeah, I love the V. I call them the V buttons. I always love these. And so this is another Richard Avedon photo. I just want you to know your photographers is one of the reasons why I'm taking such a long time. And I try to give credit to the photographers whenever I know who the photographers are. So yes, this is a great photo. I love this, Christy. Justice for Jamie Starr. Yes, indeed. And Vanity was effortlessly beautiful and sexy from beginning of her career to her end. Love that woman. I think we all did. At least I know I did. And this is a spread of all spreads. Vanity Six, again, Richard Avedon. I am tickled pink that Vanity, Brenda, Susan, and Prince all got the Richard Avedon treatment. So thank you, Ben. So I'm a little late to the slide, but I believe that the part of Adam Ant he referred to his fans as ant people. That makes a lot of sense. And Just Rules velvet suit is definitely slamming. Yes. Richard Avedon took those classic Monroe pictures, fits the era. Yes. I was saying earlier, Edgar, I normally show a diptych of a Marilyn Richard Avedon photo and a Prince Richard Avedon photo, but I just ran out of time this week and wasn't able to include that slide because I love showing that Richard Avedon was the photographer of the stars. And then this is also one of my favorite photographs, more so for Vanity than for Prince, but for Prince, I still see a little rude boy in this photo with this thing around his neck, which I can never figure out, even in real time. Like, what is that? Why are you wearing it? Does anyone
Very
know?
Little Richard too. This is giving me Little Richard, including the neck thing, because the picture you showed earlier had a similar like a cuff and then bare chest.
I mean, let's go back to it real quick.
It was the one that you mentioned.
There we go.
Love Sexy-esque. And also, this reminds me also of James Brown. James Brown would wear those jumpsuits, like the Sex Machine jumpsuits.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Thank you, Edgar, for reminding me of this. Yeah, there's an Eddie Murphy photo doing a Prince pose photograph by Richard Avedon. Yeah, he actually does. I think Eddie Murphy does my photo. This one, right? Isn't that the one that Eddie Murphy does? And Christy says, watch Purple Rain lot. Took a long time to realize Wendy wore a similar collar. Prince did. Yep. Yes, indeed. And all right. So finally, to what Zach is probably like, when are we going to talk about sex shooting?
12 minutes. Let's lightning round.
Yeah, if we have to go over, I'm fine with going over as long as you are. I don't have anywhere to go. So this will be our first time going over 2 hours. And it's okay. This is what we do for Prince. All right. So week 17 of what did Prince do this week? We have 2 tracks again, Sex Shooter and Promise to Be True. Sex Shooter will eventually show up on Apollonia 6s. And again, I'm actually doing this more for me than I am for you, believe it or not, because I forget what I have. But this is the Apollonia 6 Sex Shooter 12-inch. It's one of my favorite covers. The design, I love it. And I also love, that there were color themes. And this is more of like Vanity 6 was more pink and this is more magenta. And I love the typography. And again, we got the Star Company going here. And we have the original Warner Brothers logo. I hate the new Warner Brothers logo. If you've seen it, it just like breaks my heart every time I see it. So now, whenever I see the classic Warner Brothers logo, I'm just so thrilled. So Prince recorded this in his Kiowa Trail home studio in Chanhassen. And so there was a basic tracking and overdubs for Sex Shooter. And then there was Promise to Be True basic tracking. The engineer was Don Batts and the producer was Prince. I'm gonna like really quickly just go through. I didn't realize we were gonna go so long, but this is the Kiowa Trail home. And last week I talked about I wish we had photos of Prince in the Kiowa Trail studio, and my husband found a couple, but we don't know if this is exactly the Kiowa Trail. So that's the reason why I have the question mark. If someone has any knowledge, because so Prince lived in this house from either December 1980 or January 81 to or roughly November 1985. So this is definitely Dirty My Hair. And it could or could not be Kiowa Trail, but I'm hoping it's Kiowa Trail. And this photo in particular, you can't really see it, but there's like snow back here. And this is like, either patio doors or it's glass and all of that. And this is like a studio here. So if anyone can confirm or deny if these are photos, especially because you can see there's a shaker here. There's a guitar here, keyboard here. You can see this is the amp here, another guitar here. It would just be lovely to know if this is Kiowa Trail or not. So have a call.
What I love about Prince's houses in this area, like obviously the Kiowa Trail was purple and that's very iconic, but other than the color, it is just a suburban house. Like this could be anybody's mom's basement in Chanhassen, and it just like it always just blows me away that these albums were recorded in this very boring Midwestern space. Blows me away and also inspires me because I live in the suburbs now. And so I hold on to that. I'm like, you can still do cool stuff in the suburbs because Prince did it. And Chanhassen is not a cool place, but he did amazing things there.
Yeah. So Celia's saying, I've seen a second photo for years and I always wondered if it was fake. So thanks for affirming that it's a real pic of Prince. And Suzu's pedals, exactly how I pictured him at Kiowa Trail. Great photos. And let's see what Dr. Claus talking about. Now, a dope Warner Brothers logo is the 80s Warner Home Video logo. The ending chord don't resolve the way you think. And the 70s Saul Bass logo is dope too. Saul Bass, again, one of the greatest designers, logo designers in particular, who has ever lived. I teach Saul Bass. Is a fantastic book that's even bigger than Duane's book in terms of thickness, but then also in terms of width and height on Saul Bass that I think his daughter got released. It's a really incredible the amount of we don't want to go on a Saul Bass detour because we'll never get to Sex Shooter, but just look up Saul Bass, do your Googles, as Michael Dean would say. And then Dr. Claus said that Prince turned Chanhassen up is one of the coolest things about him. That is pretty funny that he really, as far as I'm concerned, made Chanhassen a destination.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So let's get back to Sex Shooter. All right. So I am so thrilled to have these.
Flattering me.
No, I am not trying to flatter you. I think your blog is really important because you are one of my favorite writers, Zach, and I'm not just gassing you up because you are here. I read a lot, and because I read a lot, I have to pick and choose what I read, but I always read what you have to say, Zach, because I always find something that I hadn't thought of, like a different point of view, different perspective. And I really did appreciate how you did a deep dive into Vanity 6 and Apollonia 6 in terms of their songs on your Dance Music Sex Romance blog. So again, with the slideshow, if you go to the book club website, it's at the slideshow is at the very, very bottom. And if you go to the slide, you'll be able to click and go directly to this article that Zach wrote specifically about Sex Shooter. I also loved the images that you sometimes include in your articles, and I really love that this is basically a pre-Purple Rain photo, because this is from December 1983.
Yeah,
And it
muscle and fitness.
muscle and fitness. Yeah. So I just thought that was pretty funny, seeing, because I don't think I had seen this before, except when looking at your article before, and then also seeing like this John Travolta up in the top right hand corner.
Yeah, I think that might have been when he was in, what was that, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, the movie that almost got him cast in Purple Rain. What did you say?
Staying Alive.
Wasn't it Staying Alive? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a shot. That's a publicity still of him from Staying Alive. Yeah.
And Dr. Claw is saying that Dance Music Sex Romance podcast should be required listening for Prince fans for the album discussions alone. And I will say I second that, because the last time that Zach released a podcast was for Controversy, and I had the privilege of being on that podcast with him and Harold Pride. And it was my first time being on somebody else's podcast talking about Prince's music, because people invite me. I've been invited, but I'm always talking about the symposia. I've never been invited to somebody else's podcast or event to actually just talk about Prince. So I was just thrilled to talk about Controversy, because everyone should know that that's my favorite album. So this is the lyrics to Sex Shooter, which you can find in originals, and you can also see the tracks and all of that. So
is that in the deluxe edition of originals? Because I have the white. Okay. I don't think I've seen this.
Yeah, this is hold on, let me see if I can get it out real quick.
I have the white vinyl from the estate.
Yeah, I didn't get the white vinyl. I regret that I didn't get the white vinyl. I don't know what I was thinking and why I didn't get it, but this is, hold on a second. So one of the things I love about, let me go full. This is one of my favorite spreads from originals. I don't know if you guys can see that. You see Jill up in the top right.
Really cool.
Yeah, I love this collage. It's really great. You can see Sex Shooter over in the top left-hand corner.
Who did that? Was that Mathieu Bitton? Did he do that?
I don't think he did this one. I could be wrong, but I don't think he did. And let's see, give me 1 second. Yeah, here it is. So this is it in the booklet here, the Sex Shooter one.
Wow. I love, they need to put out a whole book, like, what they had for the auxiliary material and the beautiful ones, and just Prince's lyrics would be amazing.
Yeah, it really would be. And I'm trying to see. Okay, so art direction and design was by Trevor Guy and Alex Tinta. So that's who's credited for the design.
They did a great job. It's a beautiful looking album.
Yeah, it really is. They did a great job. And I do regret not getting the white vinyl. So that this is basically the originals. This is from the originals, Cool Music, and
the deluxe version.
The deluxe version. It's like this. It's kind of hard to maneuver, and then there's it opens up like this, so you guys can kind of see it. It's a really cool. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. It's actually my favorite post Prince, even over the super deluxe box sets. And I know that
honestly, all of those sets, the design has been. I don't think there's a single posthumous Prince release that the design hasn't been fabulous. Oh God, Welcome to America. Even the Purple Rain that everybody was like, why are we getting this? It's gorgeous. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. The Purple Rain Syracuse
live. Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, it looked fantastic. That was definitely Bitton And the
Yeah.
Welcome to America, Bitton did that.
Yeah, it's
That
lavish.
was exquisite. The design for that was just, I don't know, mint. It was really incredible. Yes, I'm Dr. Claw. I'm with you here. I'm all for more and more people getting the experience of behind the scenes prints. And all right, so you're here, Zach. This is your moment. Talk about Shooter.
Well, I already kind of, I mean, I love every version of Sex Shooter. I love Prince's version. I know in my heart that, you know, he's singing those lyrics that he always intended them for a woman to sing, but it is still like, for somebody like me who loves that little frisson of queerness in Prince, hearing him sing the lyrics to Sex Shooter is amazing. I love Vanity's version of Sex Shooter. It's so raw, and you know, it sounds it's kind of like the last gasp of punk funk Prince, you know. That guitar tone is just nasty. And Vanity, you know, the way she sings it, she has a different, uh, as you mentioned, D'Angela, she's got a different quality to her voice. Like, she's not Whitney Houston, but you know, she has the, she can sell those lyrics in a way that Apollonia, when Apollonia does it, it kind of turns into, it becomes a different like, I like Apollonia's Sex Shooter, but it's sort of, it's camp. It's almost um like a drag performance or something, you know, like an imitation of Vanity, that is kind of fun in that way. But yeah, I every version of Sex Shooter is great. And I wish, I really wanted the Vanity's version to, I want more people to be able to hear that, because it is it's a different vibe than the Apollonia one, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And so the one on originals is a little over 3 minutes. The one on Apollonia Six's album is it's like a little longer by like 30 seconds or something close to 30 seconds. But for me, the definitive version, and the reason why I brought this out, is that this is the version at 6 minutes and 15 seconds. And the reason why this is the version is because of the beginning, and he just lets the beginning, that it just keeps going on and on. It's just like, if you put that on your headphones and you really are not multitasking and you're really listening, it's just something about this song. It's just so infectious. And then you know, obviously he changes it a little bit, like just some of the melody with the Vanity version, with the Apollonia version. But I like both of them, but they're different. It's not exactly the same, but what is the same is what I call the choo-choo train, like the choo-choo.
Yeah.
It's just, every time I hear that, it's just like I have to stop what I'm doing. And it's, I actually, I get the similar with Nasty Girl, like the beginning of Nasty Girl, you know, like doom doom doom, like stop, and you just
demands your attention.
It demands your attention. You have to give some reverence to one of the greatest producers of all time. And you go like, how did he create this track? Just how? And I think Sex Shooter is a timeless song, just like Nasty Girl is a timeless song. To me, it never sounds aged. You know, like it doesn't sound like it was a track that was recorded back in the 80s. It just sounds like Nasty Girl. It just sounds like Sex Shooter. So it's, yes, Brandy, I'm with you. It's the energy in that intro. It is so palpable. It's so great.
One thing that I've always been curious about since originals came out is, so we know that, you know, for those, I'm sure most people here have heard the Vanity version. It's a totally different arrangement. It doesn't have the phased, the choo-choo train, you know, the phased Lindrum. And so I'm always wondering, like, where is the guide vocal we got on originals, is that his guide vocal for Vanity? Did he do a new guide vocal for Apollonia after he rearranged the song? Or
Mm,
is it, because I also know that there were some controversies with originals and with the kind of liberties taken with the mixes. So did they take Prince's guide vocal from the Vanity version and kind of like float it over to the one that would be more familiar to people? I don't know. Maybe somebody else who has more insider knowledge than I do knows, but I've always been very curious about that. Um,
you know,
but one of the cool things about the extended piece is that it has that part where like the little keyboard solo comes in. It's after in the Vanity one, she's, all the nasty people, whatever, she does the like breakdown. And then there's this little keyboard thing that feels, it's like this real like arena rock moment. I don't know how else to describe it. But that, he came back to that for the extended version. So it's like, it's really interesting to see how that song evolved, because it's two totally different arrangements. But even when he did the extended version of the Apollonia one, he's going back to Vanity and pulling out the bits that didn't make it into the first version of Apollonia's. So I mean, he was always just like the way that he would reuse his own material is always fascinating. He just seemed to it was like a encyclopedia. He just had all of it stored in his head and was like, oh, let me bring this back in. Either literally or he'd recreate it.
yeah, that's really crazy. That now that you say that out loud, I never really thought about that. Like he had to have like an encyclopedic mind of his own catalog.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. But another thing I want to respond to is that with Prince in particular, one of the reasons why I wanted it all to be released, like every single thing to be released, is that it's really hard to connect some of these dots in terms of the versions of songs and how the songs transformed over the years. And then when he is putting out quote unquote an old song, and Sex Shooter when it was released was an old song, because he's tracking it in 83, is like, which version are we getting? Like which of the new version, which old version is he pulling from? And what was the journey of this song, like in all aspects? And so that's one of the things I would love to be able to do. I don't think I would be able to do it in my lifetime. Probably no one would be able to do it in their lifetime, because I don't think all of it is ever going to be released in that particular way. But I think it would be really fantastic just to hear, like you said, like with the original Sex Shooter, was that the original for Vanity's version? Was the original for Apollonia's version? Is it a mix? That's a really good point, Zach.
Right. And sometimes like I'm not even, I know that this was a fan controversy. I'm not even like mad at it, because I think one of the reasons why they did that, it wasn't because they were taking creative liberties. It's because, I mean, some of this stuff literally doesn't exist anymore, because Prince was not an archivist and he would reuse his own tapes, so I think sometimes it's like we get mad at Nico Bolas or whatever for making a new mix, but it's like, it's not always an option, because the old reels might have disappeared. He might have reused them. I know I know that for 1999, they had to master some stuff off of a cassette tape, because like he just took Bold Generation and made it into New Power Generation. So, sadly, the bootleg of Vanity's version of, I don't know, maybe the bootleg's all we're ever going to get.
Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point, Zach. You're breaking my heart, but I don't.
Yeah.
I know that like intellectually, but emotionally,
Right.
I don't want to believe it.
Yeah, you want the vault to be pristine,
Yes, yes, I do. And I showed this before, but I think it's really important to pull it back out. Edgar says, I love that he opened the Love Sexy tour with Sex Shooter combined with Erotic City. You don't want to get me started about and Love Sexy tour in particular. And I thought it was really just like the opening of that combination, I thought was incredible. So thank you, Edgar, for pointing that out. And I too would love a clean versions of Vanity. Yes, Brandy, it hurts to hear. And Vanessa says Vanity's version sound closest to Prince's original's version. I agree with that. And then Kim says if only P shared his process with someone or actually had a diary like Eric Leeds had a diary, meaning like a music diary, that would have been really fantastic. And yeah, got to go shout out to Edgar whenever we can. All right, so are we sex shootered out? Are we good?
I think I've said my piece on sex shooter. I will call out because I always have to say something inappropriate, but I will call out Robin Shumays mentioned that there's the image of a sex shooter is very phallic, right? And so it's always interesting that he wrote that from explicitly from a woman's perspective. I don't have anything to say about it, but I do agree. It's some of the things Prince would do are very like I'm forever fascinated by Jack You Off and just like nobody has ever described manual intercourse with a woman as jacking off except for Prince in 1981. Like just he's such an innovator that he can't be bound by normal ideas about heterosexuality.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go to our next song, and it is we got another comment. So we got Prince's God vocals was for the Vanity version verse. Prince kept his vocals buried in the mix throughout both the Vanity and Apollonian
What
versions.
I would have guessed, yeah. So I wonder why. I wonder if is it for recognition because everybody knows the Purple Rain version, or is it because the Vanity track has been lost and so they had to use those original vocals?
Yeah, I love this comment, Kim. His diary is probably his songs. I think you're dead on with that. Maybe there's a song about his process in the vault. Maybe that's possible. Thank you, Kim. That's great. Let's see. SMS, that more polished Vanity 6 version is pretty close to the Apple one. It's pretty close in terms of the lyrics, except but it's the music that's slightly different, and it actually changes the tone of the song for me personally. And then Dr. Claus says, I thought both songs were unique for Prince. Okay, so next song he recorded was Promise to Be True, which was on the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe that was released in 2020. I didn't feel like pulling it out today because it was just
it's too heavy.
It's pretty heavy. Yeah. Yeah. And my arms just couldn't take it today.
Yeah, you got to lift with your legs.
Yeah. So these were Duane's notes in the liner notes for the Sign of Time Super Deluxe about Promise to Be True. So this, what was included was at the Washington's Avenue Warehouse, January 25th, 1987, engineer Susan Rogers. Then he has a quote from Prince, and it says, those sessions with Bonnie Raitt were kicking. There was no particular reason it didn't come out. I was just working on a lot of things at the same time, and I didn't give myself enough time to work with her. And I think that's probably the case for a lot of Prince songs around this time, because he was really stretched thin during this period, between his movie projects and his own music and his side projects. So I'm going to read the rest of this. It says, despite rehearsing almost nonstop with his new band for the upcoming Sign of the Times tour, and his new band is the Band with No Name, as coined by Harold Pride, and we all should know, but I will never not take the opportunity to remind you of who the Sign of the Times the Band with No Name is. Sheila E. on drums. That's really important. We have Bonnie Boyer on vocals and keyboards. We had Dr. Fink on keyboards, was the only remaining member from the Revolution. We had Miko Weaver on really fantastic guitar. We had Levi Caesar Jr. on bass. And Levi Caesar is one of my favorite Prince basses. Obviously, Brown Mark is on fire like Mariah. And I think I covered everybody. If I missed someone, Cat Glover, obviously, in terms of dance, but in terms of the band, that was the lineup. And so let's see. Prince seemed very focused, at least in the short term, on collaborating with Raitt. Bonnie Raitt, it appears that because of his limited schedule, he relied on songs he'd already recorded, including Promise to Be True, which was originally tracked in April 1983 for Vanity 6 and Des Dickerson. So according to Duane, Promise to Be True was supposed to be for Vanity 6. And then once again, the song was completely recorded with live drums, piano, guitar, bass, sax, trumpet, and trombone. The updated lyrics were adjusted to represent a female point of view, including a number of references to men being dogs. The track was never used on another project, but would have fit very well on one of the albums Prince produced for Mavis Staples. So this really goes to your point, Zach. So the one that's on the Sign of the Times Live is not the version that we're talking about today, which is the 1983 version of Promise to Be True. That was tracked in Chanhassen at the Kiowa Trail. So this is yet another one that was recorded in January 25th, 1987 in the Washington Avenue warehouse. So that goes back to, you have certain songs that have many lives.
Yeah.
They sort of go through things. So give me 1 second.
But it seems like this old one exists because at least Duane has heard it. You know, like he writes about it in the version that was recorded. So it seems like that's still around. So I don't know. I don't honestly, I don't care if the estate puts it out, if somebody just leaks it, it does. But I do want to hear this original one, because the one on Sign of the Times is good, but it's so Sign of the Timesy. It's like all those horns, and you know, I want to hear how it sounded in '83.
Yes. So we're going over. So Zach, if you need to leave, I totally understand, because you did not sign up for this, but it is the book club, and I do like reading from the book, because that's the reason why we're here. So I'm going to start reading on page 77 through 78. And we're talking about, again, Sex Shooter and Promise to Be True. So I'm going to, for those of you who have your books, if you want to pull them out, we're going to be reading at the bottom of page 77. So Prince had been ignoring Vanity 6 during this time. So when he returned to Minneapolis, he quickly began producing another batch of songs for the group. Sex Shooter was one of the first tracks for the project. So this was one of the first songs that was supposed to be the Vanity 6 second album, which I just, like, my heart drops every time I think about that. Prince recorded his scratch track in his falsetto voice, but eventually had his Minneapolis engineer, Don Batts, record Vanity's vocals to match his. Over the previous 2 years, Batts had been involved in practically every track recorded at Prince's home, which included songs from Vanity 6's albums as well as the Times' first album. Because of this, he was very familiar with what Prince wanted from a vocal performance. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to read this in particular is that we don't talk about Don Batts enough. We talk about Susan Rogers, we talk about Peggy Mack, but we also need to give some love to Don Batts. Yes. So he was around with the Kiowa Trail. He's recording songs for, Vanity 6 and The Time and for Prince. So this is Brenda Bennett speaking. I remember phone calls in the middle of the night to record at his house, but he would also call me up to watch TV with him. And sometimes we wouldn't even talk. Sometimes it would be to talk about the movie. You didn't know what he'd want: TV, a drive, or he'd often just want to record in the studio. We recorded a lot of the Vanity 6 second album, but the only carryover to the Apollonia 6 album was Sex Shooter. So I'm going to read this closely. Vanity 6 second album, G-Spot, which ended up, as we know, on Jill Jones's album, Vibrator, which was never released, and More Majority, which was never released, were all part of the planned but never finished album. Prince also recorded a track called Promise to Be True, occasionally referred to as Promise to Be True with the number 2 and the letter B on its date. The lyrics are about a lover who was apologizing for his infidelity, included the singer lamenting, "I bet on a new love, baby, and I lost your love instead, but this time I promise to be true." The song itself has been described as a melodic cross between new wave, arena rock, and dance music, consisting of a distorted guitar placed over a Linn drum loop.
That does not sound like the one on the side.
No, not at all. And I really want to hear this version. I hope I live long enough to do so.
And I'd love to hear Dez's version because that blows my mind.
Yes, Prince performed a scratch vocal and harmonized with it on another track. At this stage, the song had 2 tracks of Prince singing his own background vocals. In the spoken part of the track, Prince apologized to his girlfriend because she smelled another woman's perfume in his bed by saying, "Come on, baby, don't do me like that. Come here, let me give you some head." It is unlikely that Vanity recorded lead vocals for the song, as it was written from a male point of view, unlike most of the tracks given to Vanity 6. I think that's a really good point. It's unlikely that Vanity recorded lead vocals for the song, as it was written from a male point of view, unlike most of the tracks given to Vanity 6. During this period, Prince probably worked on Velvet Kitty Cat, perhaps adding Susan Moosey's vocals to the track, but no documentation exists to verify the exact date of that session. Status. During a future session, Prince's vocals on Sex Shooter, 7 minutes and 4 seconds. So even the that I would love to hear the 7 minutes and 4 seconds would be replaced by Vanity and Brenda, with Jill Jones likely adding background vocals. Another version, 505, but both takes remain unreleased. After Vanity left the group, Apollonia added her own voice to the track in October 1983, which was placed on the Apollonia 6 album and in the Purple Rain movie. Promise to Be True, 4 minutes and 31 seconds, was revisited for Dez Dickerson in May 1983. In early 1987, it was rewritten for a female singer and re-recorded for Bonnie Raitt. Both versions remain unreleased, which was the case when this book was written, but obviously it has since been released, the Bonnie Raitt version, on the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe. All right. Oh no, I did. I'm just now seeing Edgar's. Bonnie Raitt has just been admitted to the hospital today. We do hope that she's okay. Yes, prayers and well wishes to Bonnie Raitt, a blues woman to the bone. Don Batts is part of the reason why that LM1 Linn drums sound so good on those recordings during that period. Thank you for that, SMS 130. And Edgar says, a press release only mentions surgery due to a medical situation, so let's hope it's a routine surgery and nothing serious. Yes, indeed. All right, so I want to try to get through this quickly, but I do have like a postscript for this particular episode, and I could stop now, but I'm not. I'm just going to go ahead and do what I wanted to do. So what has Prince done so far in 1983? So far, 52 live shows total, 1 after show total, 22 studio visits total, with the asterisks, because if you read Duane's book, you know, he says that that's what we think. You know, obviously it could be different. 17 songs have been tracked so far in 83. I won't go through these, but this is what we've been talking about the songs. Last week, we talked about Chocolate and Velvet Kitty Cat, My Love Belongs to You, Sleazy. This week, we talked about Sex Shooter and Promise to Be True, and one TV show, which was Solid Gold. Okay, so I really wanted to wrap up the 1999 tour. Since we're at the end of April, we're going to be going into May, and just bear with me, and we'll get this over with. But I'm enjoying myself. I hope you are too. All right, so Prince 1999 tour jacket, Prince 1999, the time Vanity 6, access all area. Thanks, Celie. I appreciate that. Okay, so I just want to recap. This is the first leg of the tour, 1999, which happened in 82. And these are the shows that he did. He did 16 shows in November. He did 19 shows in December. I saw him in December for the first time in Birmingham, Alabama. And then he had a couple shows in January. So that was the first leg of the tour. There were 37 live shows for the first leg of the tour. And again, the first leg was from November 11th, 1982 through January 3rd, 1983. Then this is the second leg of the tour. And he had 21 shows in February. And he, again, performed on Stand Back and released Little Red Corvette. And in March, he had 21 live shows and he recorded Katrina's Paper Dolls, Strange Relationship. And then April, he just went crazy.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
I don't know what it was about April, but like maybe he knew he wanted to film the movie and he just went into hyperdrive to start out the Times Ice Cream Castle. Oh, thank you so much, Just Rules. I really appreciate that. Hi, Dee. It's so great to have you here as always. So that's the only thing I can think of. So he did 8 live shows in April. So a little less than, like the previous 2 months. Again, 21 shows in March and 21.
Yeah, it could just be because he wasn't like he was finally, he didn't have as much time to record while he was touring. And so now in April, it's like all the ideas that were in his head that he couldn't get out. It's like he runs to the studio.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, even that though is crazy. And like we said previously, I doubt he took a week off. I just doubt. I mean, it doesn't make any sense that he would just. I
would have taken a year off after that tour.
Yes. So
I have much more D'Angelo's work ethic than Prince's work ethic. So.
D'Angelo and Sade, right? But D'Angelo even is over. Yes, Taji, he was on fire. Yes, Edgar, thanks for bringing this up. So some European shows were planned and canceled in April 83 as well. Remember on the back of the Little Red Corvette single, there was the actual dates for European shows on that. Yes, Symbolically 2 passed in the month of April. Yes. She said, my mom saw him in March and she loves telling me about it. Oh, cool, Mila. Where did she see him in March? What city? I would love to know. And also tell your mom if she wants to come on, we would love to hear.
I actually have, I know we're trying to get done. I actually have a quick show and tell that is related to this. So I wore this on one of the days of the Triple Threat conference, but I didn't, I'm not I'm not used to being around people. So I didn't really, like show a lot of people because I was just like freaked out the whole time because I'm outside again. But so a friend of mine made this shirt for the Carolina Union show, which I think was in February. So this is actually, he was going to school there and I think he promoted it.
Oh, wow.
My AI Zoom is not very artificially intelligent. It's tracking all over the place. So yeah, he made this shirt. He gave this to me because it is, of course, the iconic shower poster. So that was still fresh in his mind. And then on the back, it says the time in Vanity 6. So yeah, this is a homemade shirt from 1983 that a friend of mine gave me. So
thanks for sharing that. Yes, I'm with Edgar. Wow. Yes. Celia got it. That's cool. Awesome. All right. So for the second leg of the tour, there were 50 live shows. So from February 1st in 1983 through April 10th, 1983. So the 1999 tour, if we have all of our calculations correct, and I rechecked and double checked, but I still could be wrong, but it was 87 live shows for the 1999 tour for both legs from November 1st, 1982 through April 10th, 1983. All right. So, see Lee. Oh my God. If that is Minneapolis, we got to double check, Mila. Yeah.
Wow, in Bloomington? That's a famous show.
Yeah, that's a famous show. And if that is true, you got to convince her to come. We would love to interview her. I mean, it won't be very long. Tell her like 10, 15 minutes tops.
We're going to grill her for 3 hours.
And Kim is talking about your shirt, saying that's hot from 1983. Wow. He did a great job. So your friend actually like drew that?
I think so. Yeah. He's in, he does, advertising now. Like kind of like more nonprofity advertising, but he runs a company that does like they've done like AIDS public service announcements and stuff like that. So yeah, while he was in college, he was working as a promoter for shows. That he gave me another one of the B-52s that's also pretty cool.
That is really, really cool. My every time I hear B-52s, one of my grandmother's favorite songs, I kid you not, was the B-52s Love Shack. She loved she loved that song. And it's so funny because my grandmother really didn't listen to, secular music. She was really into spirituals and everything. And it was like, of all the songs, Grandma,
I love that. That's the one that lured her over to.
it's so funny. So hold on one second. Let's see. I'm trying to do something real quick. I don't know if I can. All right. So yeah, so Web Diva says, whoops, that's weird that happened. Doesn't like it. So weird. Okay. It's like that's the first time StreamYard has ever done that to me. This is great. I love Shacks is a place where we can get together. Yes, I love that lyric. All right, so let us see what we're talking about next week. Let me switch the tab really quickly. My internet is really slow. Let's see. All right. Okay. So next week, we're going to be reading pages 79 to 82. And we're going to be starting our main. It seems like, so this past week, it was only one date, April 30th. And it seems like next week is only going to be one date as well. And it's just going to be Sunday, May 1st. And so we're going to talk about, let me see, did I have that? I guess we're going to have, we're only going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about moral majority, and we're going to talk about no call you. So that's what we're going to talk about. And we have a bit of an introduction from Duane on page 79. So that's what we're doing next week. All right. So thank you, Zach, for taking 2 hours and 30 minutes out of your life.
Of course. Yeah. No, there's few things I'd rather do with 2 hours and 30 minutes than talk about Vanity 6. So
yes, indeed. And thanks to all of you for hanging in with us. I really do appreciate it. I hope you learned a lot. I know that I did, especially from all of you in the chat. And I just wanted to make sure that we gave the 1999 tour its proper closing with the overview. So thank you for, doing that with me. And thank you again, Zach. And hopefully we will see some of you next week. Thank you so much, Nikki, as always, for joining me. Thank you, Tanja, for joining me as well. Hope you join me again for week 18. And Michael Dean told me he will be back next week. So if you've been missing Michael Dean like I have, but again, Zach was not a stand-in. I had so much fun with you, Zach. You were incredible. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'll be back. At least I know I'm coming back for Vibrator. So I'm sure I'll come back for some other stuff too. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great day.